probably quite a lot of an agreement for that. I don't think there's any rocket science in it. I think we just need to sort of work through the processes. I think it's a very good suggestion that we don't try or we don't ask PEC to do anything out of the ordinary. And in fact, we want, as a customer, to just merge into their systems and be dealt with like other customers. And I think at the moment what's happening, it's kind of being dealt with kind of over there. We're not the mainstream customers. We're kind of just doing these things when they crop up. So I think that's really, I think that's the thrust of it. And we formalize what's been happening on a sort of casual arrangement and put it onto a more commercial customer supplier footing. I think that's really it for me. I think just associated with that is the need for See Better, Learn Better to pick up on the repairs and replacements, and working with the schools. The MOU that we've drawn up does emphasize the requirement for the schools and for ourselves to really be on the ball when it comes to ensuring that a child isn't wearing their glasses simply because they've been broken or damaged, and there doesn't seem to be a way of getting them fixed. So I think there's two parts to this. One, get the arrangements with PEC onto the right footing, and two, for See Better, Learn Better, and particularly on the Learn Better side, to make sure we're on top and make sure the schools are working with us to pick up these problems. You may recall a recent visit to Mount Airy, where we visited in 2015. I don't recall, maybe I'm wrong, but the number of children wearing glasses was minimal, one or two. And they were kids that we'd given glasses to. So something's happened along the way. Okay, a lot of time's gone by, but something's happened along the way to those glasses. So that's what's going to happen, I guess, inevitably, if we aren't on the ball and working with the schools. Why isn't that child wearing the glasses? Are they broken? Let's do something about it. That's one thing that we can deal with. Compared with, well, a child doesn't like wearing the glasses or anything like that. So that's where I am with it. Just the two elements of that: commercial footing for PEC, supplier, customer, and just getting better at working with the schools to make sure kids are reporting damaged or lost glasses.
If I could chime in on that. I do agree that everything you just said. I do think if we have, like you said, a customer relationship, we can just place orders for replacements, or have some outlet for repairs. I do think that in order to make that feasible and workable, we've budgeted in the Chase Fund budget. I kind of built in that the cost that the parental contribution could go into a fund to help pay for these repairs and replacements as a way to fulfill that obligation that we tell parents. I do think that we have to be clear about what our parameters are. So it's a one-time replacement within a certain period of time. It's not a 2.5 years later, we are making a replacement pair. I think that I talked to Ryan about this and about putting on a contact page on the See Better, Learn Better website for the schools to directly contact us with the name and of the kid who has broken glasses, so that can be a direct conversation. Since I've been keeping track of I have spreadsheets of all the schools we've done in the last couple of years of the kid and the glasses and the prescription and their PDs and all that stuff. So the frame that they chose and such.
I love that, Amy. They can have direct contact with us.
Yeah, they can have direct contact with us. Then we can, that way we're tracking. This is indeed the first time that they've asked for a replacement. For me, the part that gets tricky is, and this is where I really feel like when I get the software program up and running will help, is we don't even know how many of every frame we have right now. So, and then they have to be accessed. So if a pair of glasses breaks, I can say, okay, well, this is the prescription. this is the PDs, this was the frame, but do we have the frame? Can we get our hands on the frame? Can we get it to the place it needs to get to have the lenses made? So that's the part that I need to have a better streamlined process for. Yeah, and then I think Ken's right. We don't want to rely completely on the teachers or the principal to tell us the glasses are broken. We do probably need to be checking in with the schools periodically, because the kid might have broken their glasses and the teacher doesn't remember that kid wore glasses, and it just kind of falls through the cracks. So, yeah, so that's kind of, I agree. We definitely have some, it's a fixable problem. We just have to figure out the details.
What if when we do the orientation, I love the contact link on the See Better, Learn Better Jamaica website. What if we train the children that if there is something wrong with their glasses, to report it to their teacher, administrator, their parents, and let them know that something is wrong with my glasses, to empower them to be their own advocates, that my glasses broke, and if there's anything that happens, tell your parents and your teacher, your administrator, and remind them to contact the See Better, Learn Better people to fix your glasses.
Yeah. And for Ken too, I'm going to put together a more formalized kind of a form, so that when we do dispense, each teacher is going to have a list of the kids in their class that wear glasses and what they're for. I'm also going to I'm going to have stickers made that are going to go inside the cases that will have the child's name, and then it will say what they're wearing their glasses for, so that there's like an immediate, because I think that's another thing, is that who's wearing glasses and what are they wearing glasses for. Yeah. So I'm going to try and get that more tightly organized, so that the teachers can be more aware of when the child is on my list and says they wear glasses, but I haven't seen them wearing glasses. Then maybe we can get that information from the kid faster, because the faster we know that they broke their glasses, the better able we are to deal with it.
I think this multi-approach to identifying the needs is great. I think that's what we don't want to be saying, is it this or this or this? We said we'll do all of those. The website for direct ordering, and going back to your idea of a class list that the teacher owns, then we could do a survey every quarter or something like that. Are the kids wearing those glasses, and ask them to report back to us directly? So I think all these different ideas for making sure the need comes out and we know about it are great.
Yeah, and then we just have to follow through and get the glasses to them.
Amy, I love that about giving the teachers a class list, because a number of the students, they have glasses only for reading. But if the teachers don't know that, then they're going to try to force the students to wear the glasses all the time. And then things are going to be kind of blurry for the students at distance. So letting the teachers know exactly what's going on, I think, is a good idea.
Yeah. We need to take every opportunity, I think, to educate the children and the teachers and everyone about what glasses do and why you wear them when.
We had a little bit of just like how we have the small orientation for the kids once they get their glasses. But if we make it our duty to have a similar orientation with the administrators and the teachers separately, let them know that, okay, this is your list, this is who wears their glasses and when and how. If it helps with marking attendance, note who wears glasses when, and check if they're wearing their glasses. We're going to come back continually with, every 3 months with our forms to follow up and try to keep record of who's wearing their glasses and who's not. And tell the administrators that should anything happen and teachers report that something happened with the glasses, or parent or something, contact us directly here.
Yeah, we did that at the last dispense. I talked to every one of the principals to remind them, please let me know immediately and directly if something happens. I think that just
Shirley Churchill,
more and more.
Shirley Churchill, when we were at Green Island, she took a photograph of each teacher standing with the kids that had just been dispensed glasses. So that there was a kind of a class photograph of the kids with glasses. I think it's just another thing that we can have to remind people and keep it on, say, the teachers in the teachers' mind, that
I'd like to put together.
They weren't wearing their glasses.
Yeah, I'd like to put together like a hard copy also of kind of our agreement with the school and kind of how it all works and who to contact for what and the website address and maybe add some places to slide in the class lists and stuff like that as we go along when we're there, so that there's something. I mean, just saying it is one thing, but then, you know, what was the name of that lady that said, call me if the glasses break? So I think it would be good to have a lot of that just really accessible.
Yeah, and print it out. To Ken's point about the taking the picture of the kids and the teacher, two things. That I think is a brilliant idea, because even for me, I haven't been to that many dispensings. Well, I've been to quite like a few, but I'm no Amy, right? So when I go and I'm able to remember and recall quickly which teachers are which and which students, I just think that's a brilliant idea. And then on a marketing side, I think getting permission from the school's teachers and students for that picture and being able to publish that or put it in a newsletter that this is, you know, this is Mrs. Franklin and these are her 7 students that got glasses in her class. This is Miss Stewart and she got 11 kids who got glasses in her class. I think that those photos could be really profound, and we could use those for sure in our marketing.
Yeah. So my question to Rhonda and probably Aretha is, what is the easiest, because I know what I think is easy to get the frames and get the glasses, but I'm not there and I'm not processing things. So what, for you guys, what is the most straightforward way for us to deal with it? If I get an email from a teacher that says this, so, you know, so-and-so has, oh great, it's snowing right now, fabulous. But so-and-so has a broken pair of glasses, we need to replace them. And I go, okay, I have my spreadsheet, it's this frame, it's this prescription. Even if I have inventory, let's assume I have inventory and I know I have the frame in our inventory. What to you, oh boy, what is the easiest way? What in your head, like, what would you have us do at that point? Make it easy on PEC.
Is Aretha on the call, or is it just
Yes, yeah, she's here.
I'd like to hear from Aretha on what works best for them, because I
she's
know
not on there
the
anymore.
challenge is what is for them managing it.
Aretha's not there anymore, is she?
She's here.
Oh, I don't see her.
Okay. I'm suggesting, well, as Amy says, if all goes well and we know where to locate the frames, because that's where one of our problem is, locating the exact frame for the prescription, because that's an issue. Because when we have to ask the students to come in or have to go to the school, that's where the challenge is. So if we can locate the frames, then we wouldn't have to be doing fitting all over again, would have the prescriptions easier. The delay we're facing now is that we can't find that same frame.
Mm-hmm.
Having the students coming in is an issue. So the last 2 times we had to go and find those students at the school. Sometimes they're not there, so that's where the issue is, and then they have the delay of finding the exact frame, getting back the prescription. So we'll always have the prescription because we have the chart, but it's getting, so if all goes well, as you're saying, Amy, and we're able to locate the frames, it's easier. I've had cases where I've dropped them off with Ken in the Grove, so just decided that, okay, I was suggesting it's saying the last Friday of each month, I get a list, all the names of the students that have broken glasses. These are the frames and they're stuck because we have errors now. It will be easier, so I know that the last Friday of each month I meet with Ken and I collect them. Then I pick them up this morning, tomorrow morning he has another one. Having it set is easier. So while I drop off some with him, I'm able to pick up another set that I damaged. I think that works best. Then
Okay.
One off this week, next week there's another one, and then I lose one. Or I'm suggesting having a system to say it's the last Friday, first Monday, just a set day within the month that we drop off and pick up.
Okay, that's a great idea. One of the sorry, Ken, go ahead.
Aretha, would it help if we could tell you what the frame was? And Amy, can we tell her what the frame is? Mm-hmm. Could we tell her, for example, which frame Tiara Smith.
Yes.
From Mount Airy chose.
Yes, I have all that information.
So, Aretha, if we gave you that information, would that be easier for you?
Well, I can say I know what that room looks like, so I know what challenge she has trying to find that frame.
That's what I was going to say, Amy.
All right, so there's still a problem actually finding the frame, even if you know what number you're looking for.
Currently, based on the system, because they're not all sorted out.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. And that is something that I have proposed. That this fall, when we're doing our next round of big clinics in the fall, that I go down like a week in advance and not just get into that, because the problem is I've gotten into the room, but I'm only there for like 2 hours at maximum at a time, because that's all I can do, because someone has to be kind enough to let me in. My proposal is that I go down early, take all of our stuff out of that room to where I am staying and inventory it all. Organize it into bins with labels, so that if I say to Aretha, I have these 3 orders, it's these 3 frames, she has to just go into that room, it's on the shelf, the label on the front says, you know, such and such frame, such and such size, such and such color, and she can just grab it and go. So I think that is really a sticking point, is because I can tell you all the details are, but if you can't find that frame, or you can't find the chart because I happen to have taken it home with me, which I have some of them here, you're not going to have that information easily available to you. So that's my suggestion to kind of deal with that, because I do know that room is nearly impossible. If you are trying to find a frame in 10 minutes, it's not going to happen.
Thank you, Amy, for volunteering to do that, because I've been with you to that room, and yes, it is something else in there. And I think that's a beautiful idea for you to take everything out. I was going to say it would take you a few days in PEC to do that, but if you were to take everything out, transport it, sort it all out, and then reorganize it in clear plastic kind of organization folders.
And the charts and everything. I'd love to, I would kill for the opportunity to get all that organized, because I know that in reality, a lot of where everything is in my head. And that's not helpful.
So potentially a project. What time in the fall would this be?
I'm working with Katie, Dr. Connolly, to figure out what dates in the fall. She's given me a few suggested weeks, and then I said yes or no to some according to school schedule and stuff. And then she's going to let me know what the school approves. So we're looking at right now potentially early October or early November.
Okay.
Because the week she suggested was Heroes Day week, so that wasn't going to work.
No.
So that was her favorite week, and I was like, yeah, it won't work. So that's the time frames that we're working with right now. She has to get approval from the school and the teachers. She has a lot of red tape to go through to get approval on the week.
All right, awesome.
Can I make a suggestion, or just offer just some additional thought to this? Is fall's a long time, and it's going to be difficult to have any frames that are able to be sourced for several months. Do you have a system in place already as far as what you're going to be inventorying them with? Are you going to use just Excel? Do you have a special program? I'm wondering about the next couple of optometry teams that are coming, if we could pull, 2 of the students to sort through some of that stuff and just organize as a matter of organization.
I was wondering, what are you thinking of the answer? I was wondering about that as well, because if you could give us the know-how, then maybe I could spend some time doing it.
The program that I'm separated by just brand. I don't know how many different brands you have. That would definitely make it a little easier, but
if they're sorted they'd have to be sorted by brand, by model, by size, and by color.
Right, but I'm thinking that if you have a broken frame, and I guess depending on how many frames are in that room, if we know that it's you know, a K-12, or I don't know what brands are in there now, but and sorted by model, at least, I mean, the size and the color, that's just a small piece of the organization, that if you just do it by brand and frame name and just do them alphabetical, then it's easy to find if it's there.
Yeah, I mean, if they want to organize the frames into, you know, that way, at least in the very minimum, in advance, that would surely make my job easier to inventory them if they're already organized by model.
Yeah, I mean, are there any Rotarians, Ken? Like you said, you know, maybe you could, you know, go in and.
I'm not vouching for any of the Rotarians, but I mean, I'd be happy to find some time to just go down.
Just be aware, there's probably 1,200 frames in that room.
Yeah.
You're gonna need a shelving system.
There is a shelving system.
The shelving system in that
Aretha
room.
arranged to have a beautiful shelving system built for me in there.
Okay, so it's already in there.
Yeah, it's just the thing is they're in. It's a long thing. They're in cardboard boxes and paper boxes. The boxes deteriorate. We all know this over time. The heat and the things, you know, and the bugs there that eat cardboard. That's fun. Some of them have been there a really long time. So there's some of them. There's only one of them. Some of them there's 20 of them. I'm way overdue to really sit down and dig into it. And I am going to have a software program that's going to do the inventory so that when we are in clinic and I order a frame, I know what I have in stock. So long term, it needs to be very, moving forward, I'd like to have it all in the software. Between now and fall, if someone wants to go in there and get it at least so that it's accessible, that's awesome. I don't know. It depends on if it's worth the manpower for how many frames are we going to have to access during the summer when kids are out of school. Are we even going to know? I mean, I'm totally for it, because if it's going to make my life easier to have it all organized by model and size and everything, yay, please.
Yeah, it was just a thought.
Logistically,
that you're not going to have, like, the system isn't going to work until the end of the year.
Yeah, it won't be operational until November, December. It's true, and we're March, so we do have actually quite a few months of school left.
That's right.
All right, Amy.
Oh.
Hello.
Yes.
You hearing me? I'm suggesting, since we already had started doing it by model, we're gonna take those off the shelf now and see how best, not like on Fridays, we'll be able to assist to see how best we can help you to sort it just by the model, not all that details, but model for now, and then you'll take it from there, because we might be able to assist you.
Yeah, I will say that for the most recent schools we've done, so Mount Airy and Broughton and Cove, who are the ones most likely to probably have issues, all of the frames that I fit on those kids are in one suitcase in that room. So they are easier to find than everything else. So because I just took that suitcase with me with those models of frames. So we do have some. It's not, that part is not as complicated as it may seem. But
it seems to me that if we can make, we might be able to cut the time to find the right frames in half, and that would be a great help to Aretha. Even if it isn't perfect, and we can make it better, then that begins to solve the problem that, you know, just going in there and trying to find a frame from 1,200 frames.
Yes,
we can make that. I'm sure we can make great strides into that. And Aretha, if you've got a time when you're going to be doing that, and you let me know, I'll see if I can get some hands to come and help you. I'd certainly be happy to come down and just help with the sorting process. And I may be able to bring a few people with me, if we want to fix a time for that. And let's try and do that early, because it starts to cut down the time, the problem you guys have just tracking down the right frames. So I'd suggest we don't let that hold us back. We carry on with the rest, and we just accept we're not going to be quite as efficient as we're going to be by the end of the year at being able to put our hands straight on a pair of the right frames.
I have a question about the repair versus replacement situation, because I mean the frame that you held up is definitely a replacement. That's a whole new frame. Yeah.
Joan, I said somebody sat on them, and she says yes, and it must have been a very fat bottom. That the lens is missing.
Oh, is the lens missing? Okay.
The frame's bent. It's like maybe it was run over by a car.
I just wonder if actual repairs are happening as often as replacements. It seems like replacements are more often the issue than repairs, because repairs, like if the temple breaks, we're going to have to take that temple off of another frame of the same kind, which then makes that frame unusable. So maybe this is just me. I need to figure this out myself. So
I think we've had things like arms coming off.
Yeah.
Sometimes lenses coming out. Those are the sorts of things that we're seeing by way of repair. Repair. Otherwise, it's a disaster zone like this one.
And maybe that would be the thing. I don't know if how Aretha feels about this too. Is if we arrange a day of month where you're being brought, this month's March's repairs and replacements. If they're just kind of gathered, if that frame is gathered, that pair of glasses gathered together with the child's name on it, and I can email you all the details, then you can go, oh, this is just a missing screw, or this is just a lens that popped out, and you can look at it, because it's hard for someone who doesn't know about glasses to know, is this a replacement or is this a repair? What are your thoughts about that? Do you get where I'm coming from there?
What's your question again, Amy? Sorry about that.
So if we get told that a kid's glasses are broken and we get them, I guess the question is, if someone contacts us and says, this child's glasses are broken, are we going to just replace it by sending the order to PEC and saying, we need to pull this frame, this is the prescription, these are the parameters, and replace it? Or are we going to try and go and get the frame, pick it up, take it to PEC to see whether or not it's a repair or replacement? If that's a lot, do we want to go to that level?
I think, isn't that PEC's call? They can look at the glasses and say repairable or
well, that's my question. Do we want to wait until we have the glasses in their hand so that they can make that decision? Because remotely and through email, you could start an order without ever seeing the glasses.
Ken, you were saying, what is your process? When a school or a student or a teacher or somebody's contacting you about a broken pair of glasses, what is your step? Are you going to the school and picking them up? Or
it varies, but this set found its way to us. I like the idea of focusing on one point in the month. I think it has lots of advantages administratively, but also to provide a focus. I know we're going to be doing other things, but it also gets the school thinking. We could send a reminder around.
I was just thinking that same thing. We could say
Friday, right? So
a week beforehand, we're like, do we have any broken glasses? We're putting in an order for new.
Yeah, I imagine for the time being, you could assume that we will, if the glasses don't come to us, we'll go and get them.
Okay.
That would have to change over time, depending how far we expand everything. But so we would end up with the glasses here. And I think Aretha's referred to the fact that we can fairly easily meet in the grill without either of us having to go. So that's how we could. They would then find a way to throw. And I would suggest that we send them and say, this. We want you to examine these glasses and decide what needs to happen.
Okay.
Right?
So in that case,
be repaired or they need to be replaced.
Yeah. So in that case, Ken and I can work on kind of like a timeline, a flow of that, because I would want to know who the kid is so I can get the records of the frame and the prescription, and also make sure that they haven't asked for a replacement previously, or it has been less than a year.
I think what would happen, Amy, is that I wouldn't just give the glasses to Aretha. I'd give her a purchase order.
Gotcha.
And you could have had that purchase order
Perfect.
already
Perfect.
before the Friday. So you can add the detail that's needed. You can research each individual's child on there, and then PEC, if they need a new frame, they know what frame it is.
Perfect. That works perfectly. And then the teachers and parents and child have an expectation of how long it'll be, a month, but when you go and do it again and swap frames. Okay. Perfect.
So part of our relationship then is that we will be asking PEC to make the decision whether the thing is repairable or it needs to be replaced.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Sorry, Novia.
That's reasonable. PEC can definitely make that decision if it can be repaired or if it's a replacement.
And but if a pair like this comes to you and you say it can be repaired, then your credibility be in question.
Well, unless you can magically reoperate a lens. I had something I was going to say, but it escapes me. Crystal's got a question up there about. Yeah. Oh, that was a question. So when we do this, as a customer, let's say we're a customer and we give a purchase order to PEC with, these are the frames, and let's assume that the frame is available and you can grab the frame. It's going to go through PEC like a normal order. Is it going to, Rhonda, you were talking about like a 50% off the lenses.
Well, I was saying 50% off of, things that would cost PEC outside of the ordinary See Better, Learn Better account. So the lenses still be bought under the See Better, Learn Better account and still charged at the same rate that they were on original order. So those would be the same.
Okay.
But anything like, so sometimes I've seen come through where a child's frame had to be reordered, and when we reordered it, we paid full price for it because there was not one, or whatever the reason is, we had to buy a new frame, and that frame comes in at, say, whatever, depending on, I should have thought this through a little bit more. When I was saying 50%, I was thinking, for stuff that was outside of See Better, Learn Better's stock and supply and normal orders. Because then that basically puts you close to, puts us close to cost. It's just more of a service.
Yeah.
But the other thing too we could do is, if it's, what we've done in the past is when we order a frame and it's a full price frame, I just pass the cost on to you guys when I do the invoices. And I only do those every, 4 months or so.
Okay.
I think that, when it comes to exams though, that's another thing we haven't talked about is provider services. If you're going to send patients to the clinic, outside of, say, a mission team being there, then we can look at, like, say 50% of a service. Yeah. Because we have to pay doctors and we have expenses and things like that. So,
well, we budgeted a certain amount per child for pathology follow-up in the budget. So,
one thing that I thought I should kind of go back to as I was thinking, as you were talking about the purchase order sheet. So if you guys put together something that is, on a piece of paper with all of the patient's information and name and the order and the glasses and all of that goes and Aretha gets it, there's a very clear path on what you all have decided or what is available, so that the decision for her on how to process them is very clear.
Yeah.
Okay, and only you will raise you will create an account on your system. So we'll have an account number, and then the purchase order. Does it need anything for us to put onto it that helps it make fits into your system, other than the account number itself?
Not so much, but really, I would say the things that you need to have done. If you guys know that frame is in your system and you want us to pull that frame out of the See Better, Learn Better inventory, that is definitely noted on there as far as a plan of action. if the frame isn't there and you want us to order a new frame, or if you want the patient to be restyled in a new frame out of the See Better, Learn Better inventory, and just go that route too. Because that may be, it might be a little bit more cumbersome, Aretha, what do you think about that, or Novia, if you have a patient or a student who we need to restyle?
Would it be helpful if would it be helpful if I would know the inventory, if I could make suggestions of similarly sized other frames that I know we have, instead of just kind of flying blind, because it could just be another color of the same frame.
Why would we want to restyle a child? I don't get that bit.
If their frame is broken, but we don't have another of that exact frame.
Oh, see, right, okay.
Because if we were to order a brand new one, say from the supplier, and they're going to charge us $50 for it, it would be less expensive in the end if we just restyled them with a frame that's already been donated and then putting in new lenses, which is going to be significantly less than a brand new frame.
It may be helpful because one of the things that I'm going to do when I come down to organize everything is create kind of a fitting kit of the frames that we have multiples of, for when I'm in clinic, to make it easier than stacking boxes everywhere. In the case of a restyle, you could just pull that out, knowing that there are more of those frames, just like one tray. And then that might make it easier in the instances that
would make it easier in a restyle situation where they, they could just pull out the box and say, this is what we have to choose from. And that just makes it a lot easier.
If we can't find a like for like frame and we have to restyle, does that mean you have to have the child in there?
Ideally, not.
Yes, you would.
Yeah.
So then, that's a challenge. Is the child going to come to the GMC, or are we going to go to the child at school?
Yeah.
That's a good question.
Some of these things I think we're going to have to tackle as they come, because you're not going to have necessarily the right answer.
I think we ought to pause long and hard before we start introducing different elements of service. PEC does not travel to its customers. I would think generally, especially in that circumstance. So I think we don't want to have, we started off by saying we want this to run as much along the usual customer line. So I think that's ought to be our assumption. Our assumption ought to be that they'll have a like for like frame if we can find one. And if they don't, then we'll find something very similar from stock. And I think then the child or the family should have the choice of coming in and looking at that frame. And if they don't, then they just get the frame. I think I think we've got to be practical as well as anything else on this. And I can just imagine what a bind it will be for PEC for us to be saying, go out to Mount Airy and try.
Oh yeah, I would never.
That's not gonna. That's just going to. It's going to stop the system working.
Yeah. And I also think, this is just me, and we'll have to decide together, I think it's fair in the case that a child comes to PEC to be restyled, which I think is honestly going to be the exception and not the rule. I think it's fair to charge us the small fee for the optician's time, because they are at work. I'm just going to put that out there. I do think that's fair. But we can talk about that too. The other thing because we're already getting close to 9, before we go, we need to talk about the referrals for the ophthalmology. So for the pathology referrals and what that looks like. So
let's just if we may, Amy, just run through just a couple more practicalities to finish off, because I think it repeats itself for this bit for referrals, just in terms of, so invoices are going to be issued, but we need to decide where to. And we need to understand who's going to pay them, how they're going to pay them. Rhonda, I think you said you issue invoices. Does that suit you quarterly or something like that?
Right, not as far as mission of site goes, but these would be more PEC invoices.
Yes, that's right, yeah.
And so they would just pretty much stay on your account. And then we could pull them at, say, the end of the quarter and see what the balance is. or you could just stop in and, if we know there are, if we saw a couple of patients and you want to pay it that way.
Could we make that a same thing one time a month?
I would suggest, I'm suggesting that also, Amy, as soon as I drop off those.
You could just email me that.
Bring the invoices.
Yeah. Yeah. I would like to have a digital copy of it so that I can make sure to keep track of it in my spreadsheet for the students. And then we can transfer it on to the people with the purse strings.
Yes.
Okay, and who are the people with the purse strings?
So I have a question. Speaking of purse strings, do we have funding in our See Better, Learn Better Mission of Sight account? Is that what we're discussing?
I believe all of that was a Mission of Sight got transferred to Cornerstone.
That got transferred. That was my understanding, right? Is that?
Yeah, and I'm wondering, can Rotary, is Rotary in a position to chip in somewhere along the line with this?
I think at one level, Rotary would be very happy to be the mechanics of it. We have a bank account, we can issue checks, and we're near to PEC. So I could be handing checks to Aretha, there wouldn't be a problem. Now, what I can't speak for is to say that, we'll just pay those bills. So there may need to be an exchange of funds at some point, but in terms of the mechanics of it, certainly we'd be happy to issue checks against invoices.
Yeah, because one of the things I've not paid any attention to is the $20 payments per child that come in and so forth. And, not that I'm that interested now in learning much about it, other than the fact that I obviously don't think all the onus should be on Cornerstone here. And, money's never been a problem in the past, and nor should it start now. But I just want to kind of make that point.
I'm pretty sure that we're probably the Rotary is probably ahead of the game in that sense. We've collected, in most cases, we've taken the contributions in. We've also covered expenses involved in stuff. So
we'd like to cover our expenses at some point as well, if possible.
So I think certainly we could assume. Without it, I could commit to us being the mechanics of the payment, right? Whether we can continue to be the funding, but I've kept an account of where we are, and so I can talk to my board along those lines. Yeah.
It's kind of funny. We've never even discussed that before. I always looked at the $20 as an incentive simply for the kids to wear the glasses. I've never thought of it in terms of revenue, but as long as we're setting up all these parameters and all these, having this discussion, I just needed to throw that in there.
Yeah. Well, I personally,
I could take the invoices. And I could pay them, or you take them, Amy, and let me see what they are, and I could.
You could take them. I just would need to have record of when they were completed, so that I could take those frames out of inventory, so I can keep track. And when they got the replacement and stuff, I would just want to keep track of that. I don't need the actual invoices per se. But I personally always thought that since the contributions from the parents are not 100%, but they happen when they can happen, that is something that could possibly go towards this, funding these replacements.
Yeah.
Sure. I actually had included what Ken sent over the summer as far as their account balances for our See Better, Learn Better, those donations from the parents in our budget for the Chase Fund. So we did earmark that. Just wanted to let you guys know.
So I have a question, Ken, just out of curiosity, what are the expenses that Rotary does incur that?
Things like paying for lunches during the examinations. There's quite a lot of paperwork needed. So letters for parents, letters for the schools. So we tend to get those printed, and so those are the sort of things that contribute. So that's all. It's materials related to the examinations, and then feeding people while we're there. And you know what we usually do is get food from the school, and then we just we contribute to that.
Okay.
Well, and you also have your lens, I mean, your lab bill and, you know, shipping and duty clearances, that also goes into your expenses.
Yeah, so that's actually how the way those invoices that Ron is just referring to have been paid. They've been paid by Rotary.
Oh, okay.
Right, and to a large extent, the parents' contributions cover that.
Oh, okay.
Okay, so that's, you know, if you saw the account, then you'd see two types of expenditure. One to do with the lenses and shipping and that sort of thing, and then one to do with expenses related to mainly to the screening and the eye examination phase.
Mm-hmm. And one thing that's nice is that because when we get the glasses back from the lab, I have the invoices from the lab itself. I know what they charged us for each child for the lenses, so we can predict what our costs will be when we do replacements. So we won't be flying blind, but we can be able to have some prediction of that.
I have a silly question, I guess, just to make sure I'm understanding. At what point do we receive a purchase order for?
Yeah, we'll create a purchase order maybe the last Friday of each month. All right, and on that might be 3 or 4 or whatever it is, individual children's names, and we'll be aiming to get the glasses. I don't know whether the prescription details need to go on there, but that'll be the purchase. We'll raise a purchase order against an account, a See Better Learn Better account in PEC system.
Okay, and this is just for repairs. This wouldn't be for their initial disbursement. This would be just.
No.
Oh yeah. That's dealt with separately. Yeah.
Yeah.
Perfect.
And as far as the ophthalmology referrals, I do agree that it would probably work the same way, right? We'd be a customer. And I know, Ken, in your outline, you were asking, like, when do we decide if it's going to go to PEC's staff ophthalmologist and when does it go to a mission of sight team? And I do think that might be best decided by the doctors themselves when they make the referrals, how acute the issue is and how soon they need to be seen. And then we should be going into this, you're right, with like a list of when is the next team coming. If it's a mission of sight team, where will they be, what days, and those sorts of things, so that we kind of have an idea of if it's acute, is there a team coming down in 2 weeks? Can we just do it that way, or are we waiting 2 months? I do think being a little preemptive and kind of knowing the who, whats, and whens beforehand would be ideal. I don't know, Rhonda, how you see that?
Yeah, I guess the thing about, you know, it will depend on the referral and the situation, what the need is for that particular student. The thing about our ophthalmologists coming through Mission of Sight, the majority of those, actually all of those, are doing surgery. They're doing cataract and glaucoma, pterygium surgeries. So anything that would be outside of that might just be best to, you know, to have our on-staff ophthalmologist who's there all the time, because a specialty ophthalmologist that's coming for something other than cataract or glaucoma surgeries, those are just very far and few between.
Yeah.
I can't even tell you when that person would be there.
And, you know, to your point, you might be right that we might be better served. I mean, it's not a lot of kids. It's 3 to 5% of every kid we even screen that we end up having to refer. But even for continuity of care, it might be best be referring to the staff ophthalmologist, because then, you know, they're seeing the same person if they have to go twice, and we're more clear about their availability and their scope of practice. Maybe that might be the best
I don't like to sound as if I'm comparing children to broken or eyeglasses, but could we follow kind of the same? Would it make sense to follow the same sort of pattern that if a child is referred, then the first thing that happens is the child goes to FROM and is seen by PEC, and then the determination is made. PEC, of course, are very well placed to understand who's coming down and what they can do, and then of course once they'd examined the child, they'd be, along with the doctor's assessment, they'd be very well placed to understand the urgency and the nature of the problem. So is the simplest solution to make sure things happen. I think the uncertainty is what has prevented us making sure children referred are actually referred, because I'm not sure they've all been picked up. So I'm wondering if the answer is always, the certain answer is, first step is they're coming to PEC and they're going to be seen and they're going to be assessed, and then a decision can be made whether follow-up treatment could wait and would be well suited to a team that's coming down, or PEC itself carries on with that child's treatment. What I think is we need is certainty. So then things happen.
Consistency. We need consistency in our approach for sure. Well, yeah, I mean the referrals are coming from the pediatric optometrists, so they're only referring when they know that something needs to happen, and they need to be seen by an ophthalmologist. So
your best bet is to just refer to the ophthalmologist that we have on staff, as Ken suggested. I mean, because if you're going to wait for a mission of sight ophthalmologist to meet a need for one of the kids, could be waiting a long time.
Yeah. You also have the ability then to have them in your system with all of their charts and all of their information, and it's not going to be bouncing around back and forth between Katie and me and somebody else. Yeah, I think that's probably the most streamlined.
And then we just include on our purchase order that child's name being referred for a service.
I have a suggestion for the referral for services from the ophthalmologist, because if a kid has a really serious problem, I really think that while we're there with the optometry team, we need to do our best to try to get the parent in touch with the optometrist, so the parent and the optometrist can talk, so the optometrist can explain why we're referring this child, why it's important, and what's going on. I think just randomly saying, go see the ophthalmologist is not necessarily the best way. And so perhaps we can try to facilitate that and then create a See Better, Learn Better referral form, medical referral form that parent and child can take to PEC. And then I can transfer the chart information to PEC, just like you would get from another doctor, from the examination from the optometry team. And we can treat it like I would treat it at home. If my office is referring to ophthalmology, we would send a letter to the ophthalmologist with the chart notes so that they know where they're starting from, so we're not flying blind. But I do think it's important for us to be trying our best to have the doctors talk to the parent if possible, explain what's going on, why it's important to make sure you follow up on this referral. And then they take this, we let PEC know to expect them. They can take this form to PEC and we can have the dates of the docs that we know that the doctor's available, the phone number, kind of all of the information. And how does everyone feel about that plan, or is that too complicated?
All right, so I have a question with regards to the referral to the ophthalmologist. So when does our role as See Better, Learn Better stop? And when do the parents start to take responsibility for whatever else is going on with the child? Because we are going in and we're doing the initial examinations, we're providing glasses for those who need glasses, but we are not a full-scale ophthalmology office doing all the follow-ups and whatever. So if we refer a child out to PEC, should we be paying for that visit for the child? Or have we done our mandate in giving the child a complete examination with pediatric optometrists, identifying the issues, and referring them out to a very competent institution? I mean, do we still need to follow up with that child, pay for the bills when they go to PEC to see the ophthalmologist? Where does our role stop in this? when does the parent responsibility?
I do think you make a good point, because that's something I think about too, is that we can't be, I mean, we want to do the best we can for all the kids, but as we grow, and especially if we go nationwide, we're not going to be able to afford to maintain, it's not sustainable to try and pay for people's medical bills. And I think you make a good point. I think we have to decide, have we done the best we can by identifying the issue, giving the referral to people that we know are qualified to deal with it, and saying, you know, please, it's important, please follow up on this. I mean, I don't know the right answer to that question, but I do think it's an important question to ask. I agree.
Yeah, I think what's actually happened is I think our expectation in the past has been that it would kind of be MOS who would start picking that up, because we could use the mission work that's going on. But from what Rhonda's saying, that probably doesn't work a lot of the time, because the mission work is a slightly different, it's different stuff, it's surgery and things. But I think we've probably always been happy in the idea, maybe naively, that there is someone to take care of these things. I mean, I actually had a little bit of laser treatment done on my eyes because the guys from MOS turned up, and I had a letter from my optician in England to say I needed something clearing, a channel clearing, and Doug said, "Come along, we've got the best guy in the world coming to do it," and he did it. He told me at the time, he said, "I could do it quicker than I can explain it to you if I had the right laser." And of course, thankfully, a few weeks later, they did happen to have the right laser. So I had it done. So I'm kind of thinking that that's been our mindset, is that beyond sort of regular vision testing, the eye care side of things, the health care side of things, would probably fit quite nicely into MOS, and rely on those missions. But I'm not sure, from what I'm hearing now, that is likely to be the case. And so we're left with this really good question that we're just now being asked: when does See Better, Learn Better's responsibility stop? Because once we accumulate 20 of these students, that's going to be big money.
Yeah, and it's going to get bigger and bigger. Yeah, and beyond that, I think that it's fair to have an endpoint at which we have fulfilled our mandate. Like Novi has said, I think it's fair to have to say these are the parameters within which we can operate, and this is where we can do our best work. And we can't be all things to all people, though we would want to. I do see a point at which that just becomes untenable, just for the cost, but also again goes back to the provider issue. I mean, like, PEC has one staff ophthalmologist.
Well,
everybody that we send, like all of our kids,
is a good stepping off point to say we've spotted the problem, we've covered the costs of you seeing, for a first stage, somebody to look at it and determine the extent of the problem and what the solution is. Is that a reasonable point for us to stop and step away and say, at least we've set you on the track? And we always kind of treat this as almost just a side issue, because we're really into vision. Mm-hmm. That's what we're about. But if we come across a problem, of course, we're not going to ignore it, and we haven't ignored it. We've made sure it's been properly investigated, and we perhaps pointed the way to the parent for this is what you have to do next. Mm-hmm. But that's the point that we stop.
Yeah, and it does harken back to something that Katie said on the previous call too, when we were talking about the screening, is that if we're saying See Better, Learn Better is here to identify refractive error, and our mandate is identifying refractive error, then maybe their best option is to have the best system possible to get the doc that examines the kid to talk to the parent and explain the situation, and have good referral resources available to say, this maybe a sheet that explains what this condition is, a sheet that says these are the places you can go for treatment. It's important that you do so, and just kind of give the parent the best tools we can to take it from there. I mean, I don't know how everyone feels about that.
Well, I'm going to jump in here on something that Ken had said early, and understanding, kind of how MOS works with PEC and, your own experience with the laser. is that all of the patients that we see at PEC come in as regular patients. They come in, they pay their fee to see the doctor, to see our ophthalmologist, to see our optometrist, whoever is on staff. And then from there, then then they are directed into what their options are for care after that. So, it's up to you guys what you want to do and what you feel your mission is and how you're accomplishing it. But I would see it that if you did then get them, if there is a need, you refer them to PEC. They're seen there. If you want to cover the cost of that initial exam, because it identifies what their true need is, and if there's a further need that can be met by MOS at some point, then MOS can step in. Or if we see that you know what, you need something else, and we're going to have to send you to Bustamante in Kingston, but we're going to direct them into what is their best options of care. For anything that is needed to be followed up on after the initial exam and everything is identified. Yeah. So for you, Ken, you couldn't just walk in. You couldn't just walk in and see and have your laser done that day. It's kind of like whatever it is these kids need that is beyond the scope of an initial exam. Then you're kind of directed and referred. So waiting for, say, just what I was saying earlier, if you don't want to pay for the initial exam from the PEC ophthalmologist, then waiting for another ophthalmologist that's just going to examine kids for other issues, that's where I'm saying those people aren't really coming in on a regular basis. Now, we probably have specialty people coming in, but waiting for an ophthalmologist, a pediatric ophthalmologist, or just an ophthalmologist that isn't coming to do specialty care, that's where I was saying you're gonna be waiting a long time. But we can definitely get them in, identify them, and if it's something that MOS can pick up on after, then we would definitely put them into that path.
And out of curiosity, what is the cost of ophthalmology visit?
We're Retha, what are we in from now? 5,000?
5,000.
So maybe that's more conversation we need to have, because we would want them to see an ophthalmologist because they've already seen an optometrist at that point.
It's the same price.
Okay.
If you see an optometrist or an ophthalmologist, it's the same. It's a full exam.
What they're doing the medical is the same 4 or 5.
Yeah.
So to marry what Rhonda has said, and to reiterate that, I kind of think it is, based on MOS's availability, I do agree that we should completely refer them, and to marry what Amy has said, give them all the tools that they need, the parents, all the tools that they need to make their next steps and decisions. I feel that on a case-by-case basis, it sounds like on a case-by-case basis, we figure out, well, what can we do? What can we cover? I think Novia makes a good point about where does, the see better, learn better buck stop and the parents start picking up the tab. But depending on, if we look at it from a child-by-child basis, just tying this into something that another partner of ours said, Alex, doing crowdfunding and little fundraisers that could, cover maybe some of these costs for the children who are really in need, or the parents rather who are really in need. Maybe we can plan to implement something like that on a child-by-child basis. Or, if we're talking about 5,000 Jamaican dollars, that's 34 US dollars. For me, if I personally hear that a child needs, referral, and we know that, I would put the $34 down for the child. I think all of us, I speak for all of us, when we always do that. So we could probably handle it on a child-by-child basis. I just wanted, we're running a little bit over, and I just wanted to bring us wind us down here. If there were any further topics we wanted to just tackle quickly.
I think, Crystal, if I may, I think that we need to get this policy in place while we're all talking about it. And for me, I agree with you. I think See Better, Learn Better should pay for that first visit to PEC. And then I think we should draw a line. That doesn't mean we abandon the child, but I think in terms of See Better, Learn Better's responsibilities, It ends at that point. So we're either going to, as an outcome from that, we're either going to equip the parent with all the information they need about where they need to go next, or that child will flow into the mission of sight arrangements and will be seen anyway. Now, so I think that's a hard line and a policy line that we ought to agree on. That's where we finish. But if as an organization, we see on a child-by-child basis, there may be an opportunity we could do some activity that allows them to say, generate money for that child, because MOS isn't the answer, they have to go here to get this thing, then we might individually be willing to say, well, let's make an effort and see if we can raise that money.
Mm-hmm.
But I think from a point of an organizational point of view, we ought to be saying our responsibilities, our commitment go as far as either giving children glasses, then following up with them in 2 years' time, blah, 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 or getting a child, when we spot a different type of problem, we get them to a point where they can make a decision or maybe just flow into the MOS. But that's, from an organizational point of view, that's where we stop. We don't have any further financial commitments to that. If we can do other things that help as an organization, we'll do them. But in terms of sort of budgeting for our organization, we're not going to commit ourselves beyond that point.
But if it does help for that, we, in the Chase Fund budget, we budgeted $1,000 for pathology follow-up visits.
Yes.
So if they're $34 US per visit with the ophthalmologist, that's just under 30 referrals we could do in a year in the budget as it stands. Now, we could also give the optometrists, not give them parameters, but we could talk to our doc teams and say, you know, we have the ability to refer, but we need to be sure that we're referring the kids that absolutely need to be seen for something right now, not that they're just willy-nilly referring, but, you know, like to make it clear that we have resources for the first visit, but we need to be sure that they're the children that really absolutely need to have that referral, if that makes sense. So we could say, you know, here's your referral form, make an appointment with the ophthalmologist at PEC. Please know that it's just the first exam that we're able to cover, and then we get billed for that, and we keep track of that referral. We could make that our system. How does everyone feel about that? I mean, as we grow, knowing that there's going to be a point at which we're going to have to decide if that's still a possibility for us.
Well, that sounds like a plan for now. We can pay for the first visit with the ophthalmologist, but we have to make this clear to the parents, because ophthalmology follow-ups are every 3 months, every 4 months, every 6 months, and we really cannot get tied up in paying for repeat visits when we have our primary mandate to go into other schools and give kids optometric exams and glasses. So I don't want the parents to go to PEC free on the first visit and then go back there, and Arita has to be struggling with them now for them to pay, because they expect that it's going to be free all the time.
So perhaps that goes back to, like, when we're there and we have a child that's identified for referral, that we make an effort, and by we I mean me, make an effort when I'm there to get with the parent and the doc in person, face to face, with all the forms, and make it very clear, this is the system. We're going to help you get to the doctor for the next stage. We're going to pay for your initial first appointment with the ophthalmologist, so that they can assess what's going on, and let them know that at that point, there may be other avenues for them to receive free care. There may not be, but this is where, like, face-to-face with the parent, not just in paper, not just in theory, but I mean, like I said, this is a handful of kids each time. So I do think it's possible for us to make this system happen this way. I do think it's important to be really, have the parent really on board with the whole process from the very start.
I totally agree, and I think it's a great idea for us to have the policy in place outside of child by child, let's see how it goes approach, but to like, I totally agree we can cover the first visit for sure. And we budgeted for that, as Amy pointed out. So that's great. So our policy will be officially that we pay for the first visit to an ophthalmologist.
I just want to echo my own concerns. They've always had these concerns in Jamaica about people gaming the systems, because kind of there's some of them are preconditioned to do that, or if you give an inch, they'll take a mile. And I'm not a big believer in any kind of welfare or pure charity. I am a huge believer in we'll lead you here, we'll cushion everything. Now it's up to you. So if we can put these safeguards in place, I know I'll feel much better about this. I just don't want to be victimized by anybody, and I think we've got enough smart people in this group to prevent that.
Yeah, I don't think we'll have to worry about that just yet. I really do. With the population we're working with, I think that the parents are great. They're honest, and
yeah. And this is also, I mean, this is an opportunity to educate them about what's going on with their child and empower them with the knowledge of what's really happening.
Yeah.
I think actually in our budget, sorry, Wally's trying to compete. We have estimated $100 US per visit. So really, the estimate should be much lower.
Yeah, it's estimated, I think I put in there $100 per child, estimating 10 children per year.
Yeah.
Which is, obviously way above where we need to be. So, so I think we can do it financially right now. We just need to have these safeguards in place.
We'll have a surplus.
Ken, how do you suggest we get an audience with the parents? Because when we go to the schools, we're really not interacting with the parents to really give them that information that they need. So how do we get an audience with the parents?
A lot of it comes down to the further ahead we can plan. The further ahead we can plan, the better. Because we have in the past, and we've had in the past reached the schools through the things like the PTA. Getting a special meeting of parents to deal with, to prepare them for See Better, Learn Better is a bit unrealistic. But we can tap into things like PTA meetings. They don't happen every week or anything like that. So I think it's certainly always been part of our preparation to see if we can arrange to get as many parents together way ahead of screening, so we can explain to them exactly what's going to go on. And we could, of course, include all of this stuff we've been talking about today in that. So I think it's about making efforts to get parents together through pre-PTAs and that type of thing. But the difficulty is when we tend to kind of make our decisions quite late in terms of when are we going to do things. A few weeks ahead doesn't really help us with that. So what I will try and do with each of the schools that we're going to be screening, and I'm assuming we still have those 3 schools in our plans. It's all seemed to go a little bit off track last week, but I will try and arrange for us to have to get in touch with parents, get to a meeting where at least the PTA side of things are there, and encourage those parents that are at the meeting to pass it on to other parents in their communities. But I think we used to do better at that than we're doing at the moment. So I'll make every effort to see if there's a way I can address parents ahead of screening for these next 3 schools, and try and cover all of the ground right through to the cutoff point, if you like, the first examination.
As far as
one of the things I could stress in there is that if we do come across a problem with an individual child, it would be really helpful for the parent to be able to come and talk to the doctor who's discovered that problem during the course of the eye examination period. Anything else is impractical as far as I see. The doctors are moving from school to school. They haven't got time to set aside to come back and see the parents. So we've got to kind of do it on the hoof. But if parents are forewarned, and the schools can get in touch with them, generally they can, of course, then it may be that we can increase the number that get a chance to talk to the doctor about the referral.
Yeah, and we can work on, when that can happen. Maybe, we plan to stay if we're at a school in the evening, we stay until the time that children are getting picked up, and we've contacted the parent and asked them if they can. It's going to be a case-by-case basis. Like I said, there's a handful of kids that are going to need this. So I think we can tackle it on whatever is best. And if it comes down to the docs are gone and Novi and I are still around, we can meet with that parent and explain it as well. So
we're actually a victim of our own success in a way, because we get through so many children. I mean, there used to seemed like we would go back to the school, for a second day for exams. We don't seem to be doing that anymore. We can get through 40 kids a day, and the number of referrals are coming down, so it just makes it a little bit more difficult to organize that. But yeah, I'm sure we can find ways at least to help with that problem.
So I have a couple of thoughts on this. One is getting the parents there when the doctors are there. I forget which school I was at, but the principal knew there was an issue with one kid's eyes, and that the mom was really reluctant for the kid to have eyeglasses. But the teacher had really identified an issue, and she had that parent come in when we were there doing the eye exam, so that the parent could talk directly to Katie. So that was wonderful, and we could probably be more assertive on bringing that to the principal's attention and having them have some of the parents come in during the exams. Also, how about if we try to get the parents of the kids who are getting eyeglasses there the day or even at dismissal time when the glasses are being dispensed? Because just to tell the parents face to face, in addition to sending home a note when the kid is supposed to be wearing the eyeglasses, any other, how to put them on, all that kind of stuff. So I just think maybe that would help as well in terms of having the kids wear the glasses more.
That's a good point that you make. I don't know the feasibility of asking parents to come to the schools because a lot of them are working. So I don't know how likely it is. If it were possible to get those parents to come to the school, then we could plan for dispensing at the end of the day as opposed to the beginning of the day, and then we'd be there. But I'd have to defer to those people who know more about, the logistics of that and whether or not it's even possible to expect parents to be there for that. Anyone?
Well, I think you just try it. I mean, if you get 10 parents there, it's better than no parents.
True.
And just see. You're never going to get 100% there. That's for sure. But that applies.
Well, then maybe that's the thing, is we start to try to schedule our dispensing more towards the end of the school day as opposed to the beginning of the school day, so we're more likely to have that opportunity.
Anything that increases your parental engagement in any type of program, whether it's glasses or anything, anytime you can increase parental engagement, you're going to have a higher success rate of whatever it is you're doing.
Absolutely.
And then we can say to the parents too, if they break, please let us know as soon as possible.
Exactly. You can do all that. Yeah.
I think
let's try that. Yeah, absolutely.
I think one of the things that we could do is sell the schools on the idea of tying our dispense day to a PTA meeting so that the parents are more likely to come. I would assume that at least 80% of the parents would come to a PTA meeting. So if we can capitalize on that time span when they come to a PTA meeting and do the dispensing in that session, I think we might have a greater success rate.
Yeah, well, we can certainly talk to the schools ahead of time and when we're trying to schedule that, and just say, hey, is there a PT meeting soon? Can you just be part of that? And that's I agree. Any amount of parental involvement we can encourage is something we should do for sure.
Or it could just be we could ask the administrators to bring this up during the PTA meeting with our kind of like an agenda, like what we would like for them to just go over during the PTA meeting, just in case there is conflict with their scheduled times for PTA, and then when we're available and when the glasses are ready for dispensing.
That's true. They could be, at the very least, they could say, hey, this is the day that their glasses are going to be delivered. Please be there, if at all possible, so that you can talk to the people delivering the glasses.
We do send out an introductory letter that goes to all parents ahead of time, before the screening. So we maybe just tweak with that a little bit. It mentions the different stages. So we could maybe add just a few words that says, around prescription dispensing time. That would be great, and maybe something in there about. We could add just a little bit about, if an issue is found, if we think the child needs another further investigation, we'd really like you to come and talk to the doctor about that. So maybe we could just play with that letter a little bit.
I just thought of something. Oh, sorry.
Oh, please, no, please, go ahead.
With you guys and the involvement or the effort that you put into some of your video and your video creations, that this is become a very digital age, that if you could put together even, and this might be this might be way more than what you want to do, but it could be an option. If you could put together like a 1-minute video clip or something of the main 3 points that you want parents to know. I don't know if schools or if classes have WhatsApp groups for their classes where parents are communicating with or where teachers are communicating with parents, or if there's some type of a communication that you could just send a quick video on what it is you want the parents to know. What are the key points? This is what we're doing. I mean, keep it as quick as possible and as condensed. I mean, that might be something to consider.
That would be fabulous. I've been wanting to do videos like that. Yeah.
Amy and I
versus a letter, because one of the things that we find in
sounds
our
great
organization is that long letters or written communication a lot of times gets tossed.
I love that idea, and
is that something we can work on during the next retreat or advanced series?
For sure. That sounds great. Annika will be there. With the camera. We have
the best department for that, called Annika, so there will be no problem at all.
Yeah, I mean, if we're all there, Novi and I could get on our little hootie outfits and our glasses and
the mascot.
Outfits now.
Just wait. It's all ruminating. No, that would be fabulous. We could do that at the advance. We could make some really great videos that that either could be disseminated to the parents or could be available at the PTA meetings, or I think that's a great idea. I love that.
And be on the See Better, Learn Better website too.
Yes, and be on the website to access as well. Exactly. Well, in an effort, minding time, because I have to get ready for work and out the door in like 20 minutes. I would propose that Novi and I and Ken get together and kind of put together these processes, maybe with Aretha's assistance and advising. And once we get something together, we can put it out to the group and get everyone's input and let you know like kind of what that's all going to look like. How does that sound to everyone?
Sounds great.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Perfect.
Great, and we'll get working on this. I'm not 100% sure we'll have it by the April clinical, but we'll aim for April as our, at least have some stuff together so that we know where we're going from there. But then if that works for you guys, we're doing the April clinic.
Awesome.
Maybe we can even have a meeting on site during those clinics at Travelers or something, just to kind of keep going with everything.
Well, if you want to zoom me in from the Philippines, yeah.
Oh, right.
Yeah, scuba diving.
From the water.
Meet us on Zoom underneath the water.
Yeah. Hopefully, we'll make it a plan to have this finalized in at least a really good form prior to those clinics, so that you have a working plan.
Okay. That sounds great.
I wish I could. Seriously, guys, it's snowing right now. This is ridiculous.
It's not snowing here. It's going to be 50 in a couple of days, which is like, yay.
It is the snowiest winter in 50 years in Seattle.
Whoa.
Seattle.
Well, we're getting all your rain. We're getting your Seattle rain here.
Hey, Joe.
You know where I wish I were right now.
Behind every strong man is a strong woman. That's right, Joan.
Yay.
Sometimes in front.
It's not news to me.
All right, everyone. Thank you so much. This has been another wonderful, very fruitful and productive conversation that was probably overdue. So,
for sure. I've taken a good bit of notes here. I'll try to make them make sense, and I can email these out to you guys.
That'd be good. That'd be good.
So that you have
Yeah.
something to work with when you're doing your planning.
and Ken, I know you are good at the organization. If you wouldn't mind putting together kind of your takeaway of what the process looks like, and then Novi and I and three of us.
Sure. Yeah, I'll do that. Yeah. Yeah.
Okay, awesome.
Okay, great. Yeah.
We'll translate it into American from your English. Okay.
We all speak
Irish.
Irish. Sorry. Sorry.
All right.
It's funny. Guys, enjoy the rest of your
Have a great day.
Okay. Bye-bye, everybody.
Bye. Bye, guys.
Bye.